Ladies and gentlemen, the UPSC is known as one of the toughest exams in the world. An exam which is meant to test not just your merit, but also your ethics. Only 0.2% of the applicants who sit for this exam every year are ultimately selected for the role of being India's public servants. I'm underlining public servants here. But IAS Puja Khedkar is not meritorious that is. She's not meritorious, nor is she ethical. And from her track record, she's anything but a public servant. Her story, which seems to be straight from a film script, is that of high-handedness, misuse of power, fake caste, and disability certificates. There is so much to unpack about her extremely shady track record, from where skeletons are tumbling out every hour. But we'll try and take you through them, at least some of them. First, let's look at her abuse of power. Here is a civil servant who flaunts a private Audi as her right, which is absolutely fine if it weren't for the fact that her private Audi is adorned with a lal Batti and a Maharashtra government sticker, both blatantly against service rules. That's not all. When she was posted in Pune as a trainee, she was also found to be using the additional collector's office while he was away. She reportedly removed his office furniture, bought in her new furniture, and then demanded letterheads for herself and got a VIP number plate put on someone else's office. These perks are simply not available to junior officers who are simply trainees. They are on probation. Ironically, though, now that she has been transferred to Washim in disgrace, Puja Khedkar is hiding behind quote-unquote service rules as an excuse when she was confronted by the media.
I'm very happy to join in Washim district. I'm looking forward to working here. The government rules do not allow me to speak anything on this matter. I'm very happy to join in Washim district. I'm looking forward to working here. The government rules do not allow me to speak anything on this matter.
Is this how an IAS officer is supposed to behave once they are selected? You can answer that question. Now let's talk about how Puja became an IAS officer in the first place. She claimed to be visually challenged, and she also in an affidavit said she had some sort of mental illness. This was submitted to the Union Public Service Commission to avail selection process commissions and concessions. She had refused 6 times to undergo a mandatory medical test to confirm her disabilities or the range of her disabilities. Reports say that the first test had been scheduled at Delhi's All India Institute for April 2022. She skipped this, claiming to have tested positive for COVID-19. 2 appointments in May were also skipped, as were those in July and August. And she only half attended a 6th in September. She did not appear for an MRI test to assess her vision loss. Question is, how did she become an IAS officer? It's a question which only the selection committee can answer. Unfortunately, her medical condition is not the only fact forged about Puja's life. She passed the UPSC despite a low rank of 841 because of her OBC certificate. Now here's the kicker. Her father has assets worth 40 crore rupees and an annual income of 40 lakh rupees. Clearly, she falls within the creamy layer of the OBC quota, which actually has a ceiling of an annual income of 8 lakh rupees. So anyone above, any family that is earning above 8 lakh rupees annually comes in the creamy layer. Again, we ask, how did she become an IAS officer? Was no one checking her certificates? Was no one checking these claims? But there are larger questions about the UPSC exam itself. If a candidate can game the system on so many levels, a fake caste certificate, a fake disability certificate, and then flout rules at every level, this individual cannot be the only one of a kind. I'm certain there are more. Clearly, the administrative services are broken and all these parts need to be urgently addressed, given that the fate of India's executive and the lives of common citizens depend on it. There's some breaking news that is coming in, ladies and gentlemen, from Pune. The skeletons just don't stop stumbling out of Puja Khedkar's closet. The Audi car which is already under the lens for illegally carrying a Lal Batti and a Maharashtra government sticker, now also has pending fines totaling about 26,000 rupees. That's not all. When the police tried to reach Puja Khedkar at her residence to collect the dues, they were shooed away by her mother, apparently, as you can see very clearly in these visuals. So the cops have actually arrived today at her residence in Pune against her parents, actually. And it seems that they were shooed away. In any case, they've pasted the notice at the gate. Meanwhile, there is also some action that the centre is taking against Puja Khedkar. The central government has constituted a single-member committee chaired by a senior officer of the rank of Additional Secretary of the Government of India to verify her claims and other details. The committee has to submit its report in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, she continues to be posted to Washim from Pune. Sudhir Krishna is a former IAS officer joining us on the broadcast. He's also a former senior deputy director at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. Shekhar Dutt is a co-founder of Sleepy Classes, and Shailesh Gandhi is a former CIC. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Can I just start by asking you, Shekhar Dutt, what you make of Puja Khedkar? This is a crazy story, completely crazy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. As it is breaking out, and in fact, recently I spoke about it too. On my inbox, particularly, I'm pretty active on Twitter. My inbox is full of students, and particularly we cater to such students who come from grassroots. Like our courses are mostly free on YouTube, and we've been creating toppers, particularly women, because they can't really go to coaching classes, and those are costly coaching classes, so we attempt to make them free for a lot of people. So students are now worried that first of all, they come from downtrodden categories and places, and then they do not have contacts and they do not have insiders so first of all, I want to clarify this too as well, that this is still under probe, this entire thing. I just pray and I just
Correct.
wish that everything comes out clean and the faith in system stays, because UPSC is one of those institutions in the country still which is immaculate in its nature and which is very student friendly, and if such a story comes out to be true, and it'll shatter the faith of a lot of students, and particularly from those places. We cater to a lot of students from UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and becoming an IAS is not only a dream. It's more than a job, and it's a lot of students, because like they even become. I think they become IITians, IIMs, but they still crave for the next IAS. And if they feel that they do not stand any chance, so yeah, so it shatters the faith in the most premier institution of the nation.
Shailesh Gandhi, this is the UPSC we are talking about. This is an IAS officer that we are talking about. I mean, yes. Look at the details that have tumbled out. They are shocking. That someone could be on a power trip to this level, and forget being on a power trip after you're selected. The very process of your selection is shady. What is your disability? You say there is some degree of blindness, there is some degree of mental illness, and then you don't submit certificates that prove so, and yet you qualify, and yet you are posted in Pune as a probationary officer. तो मतलब UPSC में क्या चल रहा है? पहले तो सवाल वही उठता है.
I think this is showing up our system for what it is. It's a weak state. In fact, even after some of these discoveries, the first thing that was done to her was to transfer her from Pune to Washim, as if the citizens of Washim can take second grade, third grade cheats as its assistant conductor. That should make us all think carefully. She must have had colleagues in the Lal Bahadur Shastri College. She must have had colleagues when she was working in Pune. Didn't they all know that her father was a very super rich man? Nobody knew. Was it a secret that she had an Audi car? She's put the red light on the Audi car. A person having an Audi car, would she be non-creamy layer? This is obvious. Everybody is just saying, I don't care. And because the process is so terrible, if there is corruption, if you do wrong, there is no punishment. We stand 79th in the ranking of the world in the terms of rule of law. Unless we get into the first 10 or 20 in the world, we cannot become a first-rate nation. That is something we have to understand. And our delays and endemic delays and corruption in the judicial system is what is hurting us very badly. We can't punish. Everybody knows that you cannot punish anyone, and therefore we have a feudal mindset which says, do what you want and you will find a way.
But Sudhir Krishna, you've been a former IAS officer, someone who's been a deputy director at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, where all these IAS officers are trained. Is the system so blind that you can game it so easily?
Well,
आप OBC भी हैं, your father's, your father's net value is 40 crore rupees, you drive a Audi, yet you take advantage of being in a non-creamy layer instead of a creamy layer, so you're gaming the system there. Then, if that is not enough, you also claim reservation and concessions on pretext of your disability. What is the disability? No one is sure. First you say you have some visual impairment, then you say there is some mental illness, then you don't show up at AIIMS not once but twice but 6 times for a checkup to establish that. Itna gadbad ho raha hai, Sudhir Krishna. Is the system blind? Is it so easy to game it?
Well, I think the system has been very well designed. It is only a situation of non-enforcement of the arrangements. And the arrangements are so very perfect that the Mussoorie Academy, the director is the kind of controlling authority. Of course, Government of India is the controlling authority, but on their behalf, the director of Mussoorie Academy, until the probation is over, he has to keep a close watch on the performance of the probationers, whether they are in the academy or they are in the state under training. In collaboration with the state government, he has to keep a close watch and he has to certify that the officer is doing well and has completed the probation well enough, and following all the conduct rule standards and all the norms.
Mr. Krishna, if the system was so perfect, and if you were churning out such great administrators, how did the academy churn out someone like Pooja? Look at her behavior, entitled, brash, bratty. The deputy collector goes on leave, she occupies his office. And then complains to the collector when he pulls her up that all IAS officers need to take precedence over PCS officers. These are the kind of IAS officers that we are training at the academy, sir.
I only hope, and I am quite hopeful that this is an exceptional case and it is not the general rule. Majority of the officers have high ethical standards, and that is how the service is continuing to have some reputation. But it is not a good situation at all. The one more problem I find that the matter is not of one day. It is going on for some time and it has not been pursued vigorously. The rules are very clear that the officer's conduct, if it is in doubt, then an officer must be questioned and reprimanded after inquiry. But there is no inquiry seems to have happened so far. Only now means in the recent few days only it has taken shape of some inquiry. So I think this one year it is going on in one or the other way. So it is a question of the whole system not enforcing the rules. The rules are very clear, and it is. I must also say that IAS officers particularly and all other senior services like IPS or maybe foreign service, they have to maintain certain ethical standards by themselves, not waiting for some superior to question them at all times. So, I mean, there is a limit to which, up to which the inquiries, I mean, superiors can look after your, or look into your behavior. So, officers must realize, and they are told in the academy.
My point is, okay.
Yes.
I mean, her father is a bureaucrat, apparently. Her grandfather was a bureaucrat. Her father is a politician, apparently has been calling up people saying, you're trying to harass my daughter who's a woman, etc., etc. So anyway, we are not here to villainize anyone. The fact is that there's now a government panel. The government of India has now set up a panel to inquire into her doings and deeds, etc. But Shekhar Dutt, I quickly want to ask you, we are pretending as if Puja Khedkar is the only rotten apple in the entire system. That clearly is not the case. It's only that Babus, it seems, in our country are above the law. They can get away with anything. Like Shailesh Gandhi very clearly pointed out and very correctly pointed out as well. What do you do there are certain things that come out against Puja Khedkar. She behaves in an objectionable manner. And what is it that you do? From Pune, you transfer her to Washim. That's punishment, is it?
Ma'am, one of the reasons she might be transferred is to put her away from media glare, and maybe to divert. Maybe media won't really follow that far, so that might be one of the things. So, but in other maybe possibilities. We had to. I teach sociology, and I also happen to teach ethics at times. But I feel slightly at the moment I'm slightly dejected that if we at teachers level at least, if we are able to make any difference, if the subject of ethics is able to have any value, or is it just about maybe having another subject, studying that subject? People, students, they even go on to study these subjects in detail in Labasna, and even afterwards, I'm not sure that the training continues. But yeah, a lot seems to be failing. And the most important thing is accountability. A lot of times, what we see, the erring officer is often transferred. That's it. That's the only punishment we get to see. And I was talking to one of my friends, and he's a bureaucrat, and he said that a lot needs to be made public. A lot, for example, let's say if somebody gets selected, and if somebody has used certain documents, or maybe a caste certificate or an income certificate, that could immediately be made public by the commission itself, so that it's in public scrutiny. And but a lot needs to be done. UPSC never releases answer key, and they do not release it until the entire process is over.
Clearly some problem. There is clearly some problem with the UPSC as well. I mean, it's not just an exam, right? It is a group discussion. It is a very tough interview that you need to crack. If someone like a Puja Khedkar managed to crack that interview as well, there is something clearly broken about the UPSC. That is all I can say. That is all this story is telling us. Anyway, we'll see what the government probe finds out. Sudhir Krishna, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Shekhar Dutt, for joining us. And Sailesh Gandhi, thank you very much for joining us.